Welcome everyone, Adam, the Woo here, having some trouble buckling up, but about to be en route to a very fantastic destination. Disneyland is the subject matter at hand, but I'm not heading to Anaheim, not California. I'm heading to a recreation, not a miniature, but a full-size, almost like a walk-through front facade, glorious version of Fantasyland. I'm looking forward to seeing this with my own eyes. The best part, it's in someone's basement. I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? Made it inside, heading down the stairwell. Guess I have to do the secret knock on the door.
Hi, I'm Travis. Welcome to Disneyland.
My first impression, I'm completely blown away. It's like stepping into the theme park itself. Wow. All downstairs. Speechless right now.
In 2005, when we moved in, the basement wasn't done, and I wanted to do something that was themed, something kind of unique and fun. So I had a couple of different ideas that I wanted to do, but I ultimately settled on doing Fantasyland. I really like the type of architecture, and it obviously was a challenge. I really love the way Disney does things. Where some people want to see the interior of what I've made.
Instead of going in and boarding Toad's vehicle, you walk into the base of operations. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
It's always good to have Mickey as an inspiration. So you have your drawing board here. You're coming up with future ideas. We're basically inside Mr. Toad's wild ride from the opposite perspective. That might be a little more comfortable than the regular ride cars. What are the future plans for being on that table?
Mr. Toad. Got to sculpt him.
You're going to sculpt him and put him there?
Yeah, small scale. And that's actually a real slate up there. Sculpture here that I made, it's got a core of MDF, and then each individual leaf here is applied. And this is actually Sculpey.
And you bake this?
That's correct. Yeah, each individual leaf was applied. It was the fake cracks were sculpted in, and then baked, and then painted. But each individual piece applied or installed as an individual window. This is paint because this whole painting is a perspective painting. You have to be standing back there.
Yeah, from back here it looks like you just keep walking around that corner. Looks so real. That's
paint. But it's like this piece, when you're standing back there, blends in as if it just continues. The problem is the dirt on the other side is about right here.
So your yard is just on the opposite side of that wall.
Right, because I wanted to have the other side of Mr. Toad's finished and then walk into an underground theater.
What's the time span that has taken you to get to this point?
Well, what you see now is about 3 or 4 years. The whole project has been about 12. So
just pre-planning, getting it ready.
Yeah, pre-planning all of the drawings, and then working it in between my job. I can only work on it in between shifts. This one and the one on the other side actually are the interiors of a Disney play ball, a child's ball. This was way back when I very first started. The mold was on the inside of the sphere, and I used a wrap to keep it, a shell essentially to keep it firm. Filled it with concrete and then pulled everything out. Those are what they call trench grates, and you can still purchase those. But that is sculpted because it's a slightly smaller scale. I sculpted it in clay, and then it was cast in resin with iron filings mixed in.
I'm trying to let all this soak in. It doesn't even feel like I'm in a house. That's so cool. How did you go about getting all the details from Disneyland? The accurate details?
Thousands of photographs. I have tons of photographs. A lot of them I took myself. I actually went to the park. We went on vacation and I went to the park all by myself one morning and took a lot of pictures of things that I needed to recreate. You know, people were looking at me like, why are you taking a picture of this lamp? Why are you taking a picture of this hinge? Well, I wanted to be able to recreate the exact same thing, down to the streaks, the weather marks, the rust or the paint chips. This is an acrylic window with fake leaded glass, and that's because it's on a child's window. But like this window on the other hand, and then that one, those are real leaded glass. I learned how to actually solder all of that together, cut the lead, cut the glass. I looked long and hard to find that pattern of glass in that exact same window. It wasn't a cheap piece of glass.
So that's a bedroom.
It is.
Back behind there.
That's my room.
Is that your room?
Yeah.
What's it like living at Disneyland?
Fun. There's also like frogs and like stuff up here.
This is actually just a regular lamp that I purchased, but I redid the sides because it was shaped differently along the sides. And then I did the frogs and the lily pads. Those are sculpted individually and cast individually. Then it's harder to see, but on the top it actually comes down. It mounts from, it's kind of suspended from the ceiling. And that's exactly the way it is at Disneyland as well.
Just as you exit the ride.
This is just sheet steel that I did the pattern. I cut it out with a scroll saw with a really fine tooth blade. The glass, this dome came from Hobby Lobby, and it was about this tall. It's, you know, for putting like little dolls in or like a watch or something. So I sliced it, cut the bottom of it off, and then painted it. But this is a welded cage too. I did the electrical.
Don't tell anyone, but it's actually tissue paper.
I won't tell anyone. Your secret's safe with me and the rest of the internet. But that's not a real lantern.
No.
It's just a light with tissue paper.
And I made a paper version of it first. So I had a template on how to cut each individual piece of copper and how they would interact, especially these curved faces, how they interact one with another. Now this, I believe, was a gas lamp because of these vents here, and the one at Disneyland has been cut in half. So this is exactly the way it is at Disneyland, except the one at Disneyland is about this big. And this was Geppetto's workshop. These actually opened, these shutters opened, and would be held by these shutter stays, and on the other side were marionettes. Now the stairwell to access the basement is on the other side, so I couldn't incorporate the marionettes. I did want to. I wanted to have this whole thing actually open and have the glass and then have the marionettes hanging from the other side, but there's just, with the width of the wall, there just wasn't enough room to work with. These brass, the brass carriage bolts here are actually carriage bolts that I applied a brass, I bought some brass discs and I domed them so I could solder them onto the tops of each one of these. So those, even the bolts are handmade. I welded on, there's essentially like a boot. It's got an inch flange all the way around, and then there's a rubber insert, so it's sitting on rubber to protect.
To not damage the floor.
Right.
Oh yeah, I can see it there. It's a photo opportunity. Are you filming or taking a picture?
I don't know.
I couldn't accommodate the width, so I opted to come out this direction rather than step back for accuracy.
All of this is towed starting from here and going along the fence line. This would be the exit to the Wild Ride. And in reality, if you were in Anaheim, Mr. Toad's car would be right about there where you can get a photo op. And then of course the entryway. And then down this direction would be where the queue line goes around that corner.
This tree that's there is actually a Lombardy poplar. And the burls that are all growing all over it makes it look somewhat whimsical. But I also want to be able to utilize this space for different things like Christmas or Halloween. So this is actually a carpet tube with expanding foam with painter sealant, Alex 2 latex caulking that's just tooled in to give kind of a barky look and then painted. Because it's not supposed to be anything that's heavy or necessarily permanent. It's going to have rhododendron plants there, so they're a bush with little white flowers. So those will be incorporated here. I just haven't made them yet.
And that'll cover the speakers, which sometimes you could pump sounds of the rides and sounds of Fantasyland and crowd noises into here to give it the proper ambiance.
The bricks were individually molded, individually applied, individually painted, and then mortar squeezed in with a grout bag to make it look like they've actually been applied, stacked, and that they're actually big, thick bricks. But
what substance is this made out of?
Mortar. It's a high-strength mortar.
So you got the exit to Snow White there. Then you have the rest of the facade, and of course the entryway to the scary adventures.
Actually isn't a window at Disneyland. It's actually just a piece of wood. I think it has a handle or something on the inside. Then it has a climbing rose bush that sometimes, not all the time, there'll be photographs with the climbing rose bush that goes up and arches over the window. But I wanted to have a window here so my daughter could look out. And this actually opens, but it opens to the interior of her room. This is a piece of conduit. This is a piece of ABS plastic that's painted to look like old copper. Then this downspout, this is ABS as well, but individually cut pieces to give that corrugated look. They're filed to make it look like it's bent. And then the downspout, and it's painted just to look like old copper. But it's fake. I like doing fake, but people think that it's real.
Did you have to hand carve these?
No, that is, I made a sculpture out of clay, and then these are cast and applied to real wood. So this is real wood, this is a sculpture.
How do you get the wood to bend like that all the way around?
There are relief cuts. You cut from the back, and then I saturated the front with, got it wet, made it a little bit more pliable. Then bent it around the framework, clamped it in place while it dried. Loops around, and what's on the other side of this is actually the dungeon.
The dungeon where the witch is like laughing, and you throw the coin, try to throw the coins in the goblet.
I didn't.
You never done that?
No. The hinge straps, all of the bolts, the locking mechanism. This handmade that. I actually made myself a little coal forge so I could bend the metal.
Any plans on ever constructing the book and the apple right there?
I've actually considered it, yeah. But I got that at a recycle place. It doesn't do anything.
So this is not a real sprinkler?
No.
Oh, so you're just using that. You put that up there because that is the...
That's actually there at
exact
the
recreation.
At Disneyland is loose here. And over time it's been wearing away here and then down here. So I actually ground this out, made it look like it had been worn as well.
Wow.
Same wear pattern.
That is awesome.
This lamp here is the same style, just smaller scale. But it has this weird pattern in it where it's purple and orange and purple again. And it's really similar to the way it is at Disneyland. And that actually is because I've got a blue glass, and then I've got colored crepe paper on the inside. So when it illuminates, it gives that weird glow.
And this is the Village House restaurant.
And this handmade all of the woodwork, did all the glass, all of the leaded glass, actually learned how to sew, and made my own pattern so I could make the cafe curtains. The curtain rod rings are actually the exact same one that they have at the restaurant. And those are expensive and they're super hard to find, but I found a lady on eBay that was selling a bunch of them for dirt cheap. So the door at the restaurant actually swings the opposite way. But because of the way this is designed, I didn't want to have it, it would have been weird to have it swing this way. It's a really stout mechanism that goes actually into the floor. The Rixson hinge that they have there is a spring mechanism. It's a door closer, but it's like $1,500. So anyway, I got that one on eBay. It was like $95. This portion right here, there's another one on the other side of the right, or actually at the restaurant, if you look carefully in the stonework. And I had to incorporate that as well. And why is because when you opened the original doors that opened up this way, these side lights here weren't there. The door would open up and interfere. The concrete or the stonework interfered with the operation of the door. So when I open my door, it's the same exact thing. So I had to have that clearance.
Oh yeah, that's where that little indentation came from, the door.
Yeah, and those are in the photographs. And unless you know what they're there for, you just think it's part of the sculpture. Years ago, when they made glass, they had what the pintle, the glass portion, the glass rod that attached to the glass that they were making, they would cut out and sometimes discard. But it makes a neat detail for the window. So I went through a process of casting them. I went through a process of possibly making them out of glass. But then I just saw that it would work fine if I just used the bottom of glasses.
Here's an opposite view, looking out of the restaurant's perspective, back out into the basement. And that's the window from the exit of Pinocchio's Daring Journey.
Right, and then the gate that you'd walk through. This actually, if I remember correctly, is actually the Handicapped Exit. And then this has a gate here, and this is the actual exit that says exit.
And then you have the painted woodwork up here.
And that's from Pinocchio's Daring Journey as well. This door is actually at Snow White's Scary Adventures, and done near exactly the same, with the exception of there's a lock mechanism that goes here that I haven't made yet. And I don't know what this is. It's actually there on the stonework, but I decided I'd put an outlet in there. So I don't know what that's for. This is brass, or excuse me, it's copper. This right here is copper, and I wove copper wire and stuck it on the back, and then tooled it, just pressed the copper around and made this indentation. Disney avoids using black because it looks dirty. Things look old, not dirty, so weathered. But as you go up, then it looks cleaner, it looks more new. But there's the water mineral, the drips. There's drips of water mineral.
Oh yeah, I see here. Yeah, you've even done that.
And those are actually in the photographs as well from I'm assuming that that's natural.
So they're starting at a darker color on the bottom to give it that like older element, and then lighter towards the top.
And there's purples and blues incorporated, and that's what's weird too, is going through all this process of the colors that they used. There are a lot of colors that you don't assume you would have used for stonework. Right here is what's at Village House Restaurant. Now the color is going to be muted. It's a little bit bright. It's like water mineral. As the water dries, it just pools and dries on the brickwork. When you buy or you get a pin for an attraction, that's the back side of it, and it was just pressed in there.
So you just took the pen and created a hidden Mickey on the floor.
Yeah, the broken out rock there.
So even down to the little details of the rock being broken out in this alcove. That's incredible.
And it came from a fireplace pad that my dad had that he tore out. So I took the individual bricks, I've got a wet saw, and I made myself a jig where I was able to slice the bricks up into individual pieces that are about 3/16 of an inch thick. They were applied just like you would tile. Then a black grout troweled in, because it appears to me that at Disneyland these are red granite. I'm pretty certain they're red granite. So if you notice, there's a curvature to it, and it changes as you walk down. That was not super easy to do. If you take this door and you walked it over at Geppetto's workshop and walked it over here and stuck it there, that's actually the door that you would enter. Say you're going to get your photograph taken, because that's usually what they use that space for. That door right there is what you would enter, and it opens this direction where our washroom is. Every once in a while it decides it wants to leak, and it would come down, it would drip. So this is actually a functional drain. actually comes out here, but this is fake water. That makes it look like it's been used a ton of times.
This is a nice touch.
The garbage can. I'm going to do the brown garbage can that you find at Fantasyland. That's going to go right here.
It's going to be sitting right there.
Right here. Yep. This stonework here that's more smooth is actually the stonework that goes around the entrance there, or excuse me, the exit of that archway. And the more rough rock belongs over here. But I flip-flopped them because I liked the rough look for the more medieval type, the Snow White period.
We have someone outside wanting to get in.
Is it a cat?
It's a little kitty cat. Hi, kitty cat. You want to come into Fantasyland? Hi, kitty. I'm going to pull back the curtain and just peek out of where Toad's view would be, looking outward, out his little window.
These are hand sculpted, or excuse me, welded together, hand shaped, hand forged.
I'm so used to seeing the sign that's right here that has the little toad.
Yeah, it'll be there.
On top of it. You're going to put that there too?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. As you walk right in.
So there's a right hand and a left hand for the door. And then when these two doors are open, if you look, the handle that's on this door is actually upside down. It's
the real handle.
The real handle at Disneyland is actually mounted upside down. And I think I know why though, because the company that makes those, when I was talking to them about it, they don't sell that anymore. They have the back plate, but not actually the handle portion.
Are you planning on putting handles on these doors?
Yeah, those are. I'm gonna have to sculpt those, and those will be cast. This is a drawing of what the back plate is gonna look like. This is the mold that we made for the hinge straps. I sculpted the hinge strap out of clay, and my brother made a mold out of silicone. This spot right here is probably the hardest spot to actually identify. But this is the bottom of the tower at Peter Pan's Flight. So if you're standing over by the carousel looking at the tower, these are similar to the windows. And these are actually doors.
Oh, those open.
There's this door here and this door here. But I wanted to be able to completely hide those because it maintains the story when they're hidden.
That is it's quite the illusion there. I would have never guessed that there was a door. Let's switch from day view to night view. Okay, going into the darkness. Wow. So cool. It's about as close to the real deal as you're ever gonna get. That's for sure. It definitely feels almost as if I'm outdoors. More with the lights off than on. You know, when everything's dimmed. Feels like I'm outside. Can almost hear the witch laughing in that corner. And it's just a pantry. There's no Pinocchio down in there. No Pinocchio. Whew! That was a close one. That whale gets me every time. I barely escaped Monstro.
So I made the lock too. So you look. And these don't open as well as I'd like because they interfere with the arch.
Wow, look at that. Now that's awesome. Just looking right out. Wow, that's so cool. I'm just like, I almost like lost my train of thought and breath there. Got so overwhelmed. That's so neat. You ever just come down here and just like stare lovingly at your creation?
I do. This is actually salt, so it makes it crystally. There's little deposits here.
Yeah, if you look closely, you can see some salt in there, sparkling.
Yeah, to look like crystals.
And I just noticed the rockwork continues and kind of slithers into the restroom. See how it just kind of is incorporated and molds itself into the floorboards. That is some serious attention to detail. It's going the extra mile. Check out the doorknob. This little hand here. And then up top, there's some sort of little secret doorway.
Peekaboo. Yeah, most of this down here is about 77% scale. Because of the ceiling limitation, I had to, in order to incorporate the same size of things, I had to shrink them down in order to fit within the space. But I did all of my drawings from graph paper that I printed out, and that way I can take all of my measurements from the drawing that I make. If the drawing works on the piece of paper, it's going to work in real life. I just measure directly off of that.
Have you ever done a project and it didn't work and you had to completely start over at a section?
No.
That's all just kind of gone?
No, because I've
gone according to plan.
I've taken so much time to make sure I didn't have to redo anything that I've gone over the processes several times in my head, several different drawings. So no, there hasn't been anything that I've had to redo.
I'm also just noticing wedged in the painting are real red lights in that forced perspective section. There's two of them, one on the left and another next to that tree.
More of the how-to type of video about how I created various things, the concrete, the brick, the paint, items like that.
And what's your YouTube channel name? Where can they find you?
It's Larzland, Larzland.
Go check his stuff out. Tell him I said hello. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.
Where'd Adam go? Where's he at? And where'd he go?
Oh, hey, I was gonna ask you a favor. I got my pillow. Mind if I just crash here this evening?
No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna wait here for Mr. Toad. Just lay right here,
right,
fine?
Yep.
I'm just gonna nestle up right here. I'm just gonna relax. Thank you so much. This is a dream come true. Oh yeah. Oh, my happy place. This is my happy place. 40 winks. 40 winks.